really unique and special show lined up for you guys today with an amazing mindfulness. I would call you a master because you've been doing it a long time.
Yes.
I have in the studio Janet Alston Jackson. Janet Jackson, y'all. Okay.
Had the name first.
All right. Okay, welcome, Janet.
I'm so glad to be here. Just to be with another, as you say, master, a light keeper.
Oh,
it's such an important show. It's just, especially during these times where it's turbulent, that we really need this show.
Yes, so today what we're doing for you guys is Janet has she studied under Thich Nhat Hanh, one of my favorite masters. And he's a Buddhist monk from France who's very, very courageous and has done groundbreaking work on how we can use waking, walking, mindfulness meditations throughout the day with anything that we do. And what I brought Janet in today was for us to discuss how we can use mindfulness and her new journal. Let's hold it up. Okay, Mindfulness Meditations Journal, to literally tame our ego and move out of this nonsense of being led by the nose by our ego and turn our ego into our servant. But even more than that, in the class that I'm teaching on singularity, transcending the duality of your ego, we're in the process of divorcing our ego. And anybody who's been through a divorce knows how crazy the egos can be when you're going through a divorce. So a lot of people in the class, their egos are kicking up some dust, but we're holding their feet, to the fire of what I call integrity, because the ego has no integrity. So I do believe that this is an incredibly important topic, because the students in the class are really now at this place where they are looking at the 7 deadly sins and how those 7 deadly sins are preventing them from having the life that they really dream of, and relationships that are actually workable. So this is the way that I look at it, Janet. When we talk about integrity, the ego, people who are in their ego just cannot keep their word, can they? It's just almost impossible for them. They can't keep their words to themselves. They are always jumping to conclusions about everything. They will assume the worst, and rarely, if ever, will they do their best on anything, because they think that they should be given a free pass. So those are the essential 4 agreements. So the work that I'm doing starts with helping people get in alignment or in integrity with their word to themselves. And the problem with addictions, which I'm sure as a mindfulness master, you go into corporations and you're helping people just deal with the stress of everyday life. And we know that what causes the most stress on the planet is people who are in their egos.
Yeah.
And so the next level of this is helping people with their addictions. But what I've found, because I got in postgraduate school, I got certified as an addiction specialist, and also in domestic violence. And so you find that there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of physical, emotional, and mental abuse with people when they're in their ego. And so I'm looking at how we can use mindfulness to help people get out of compulsively addictive bad behavior in relationship to what we all call the 7 deadly sins. So why don't you start out, because that's what we're going to be doing today, why don't you start out by giving people an understanding of what is mindfulness?
Mindfulness is being in the moment. We miss so much of life because we're always thinking about what we should do after we are at work or before we're at work or when we're at home, we're thinking at work. So we're never in the moment. We're never here now. So we miss and fully present. And we miss a lot of that. And when we learn to be in the moment, we find that a lot of the stress falls off of us.
Yes.
And we are more peaceful, we're happier, we're healthier because we're not tense. And when our bodies are tense from the stress of trying to protect what our ego does, trying to protect us, our muscles are tight and we don't get the oxygen for healing. So
and people don't breathe.
People don't breathe, and that's the number
breathing.
one. Yes,
they
exactly.
hold their breath.
It's the number one step, well, not the number one, but one of the steps and most important step of mindfulness is breathing. It's learning to be aware of your breath. And it's so great because it's something that's right here, right now with you. You don't have to go get it. It's free. It's something that is right away, can calm you when you are aware of it. A lot of times when we do our
well, let's start there with awareness.
Okay.
Because in terms of breathing, let's think about it. It's free, it's automatic.
Yes.
And see, because it's on automatic pilot, we don't want to think about it. And so when you talk to people about, well, you got to be aware of your breath, they're like, what are you talking about? I breathe automatically.
Yes.
So let's go a little bit deeper into how being conscious of your breath and taking mindful breaths can make a difference.
Yeah, but one of the ways that I was taught is being aware of the breath. You can be aware of your breath through different ways, through your nose, through your mouth. But lately, I have been following what HeartMath shows as being aware of your breath through your heart, being aware of it coming into your heart and exiting out your heart, because your heart actually tells the brain what to do. We think it's the reverse.
Yes,
but
of course.
HeartMath has done a lot of research on how the brain helps the whole body calm down.
Of course.
And tells it. But being aware of a light breathing. A lot of times we say, okay, I'm going to breathe. And what happens is that we try to wrestle it to the ground. But we're...
Because it feels difficult, like right now. So I'm somebody, I'm talking to you, I'm in my ego.
Yeah.
And I'm going, seriously, okay, Janet, I can breathe.
Yeah.
I mean, why do I need you to tell me how to breathe?
Because
tell
it breaks
me why.
For one reason, it breaks up the thought process.
Thank
you. It gets you out of the head and into the heart. You can concentrate on your heart.
Because you got to focus when you think about your breathing.
Yes.
And then as soon as you start to think about it, it gets difficult, doesn't
Right, exactly. So it's so important to also think of your breath like a feather, and you're breathing lightly and gently.
Okay.
Rather than trying to wrestle it. I got to breathe and I got to concentrate. But just like you're riding on top of the breath.
Okay.
And allowing it to go in.
Because see,
when
when I start to think about it, it gets difficult. I get...
You tense
it's
up.
like the chest tightens up, and I'm going, why is it so hard to breathe?
Yes, exactly. And it really isn't when you practice it. And that's why I wrote the journal, because it's a practice.
Okay.
It's not something we do once and forget about it.
Exactly.
We do it constantly when we're driving, we're in the shower, we're eating. Whenever we can think about it, and we try to make it a habit.
Okay.
And that's why it's great to set your clocks and set your laptop and set your watches on an hourly basis. Because it helps you to right then and there breathe.
Well, one of the guys in my course on Transcending Duality, and he's got a great name, Robert Wise. And he's a producer, and he works in Hollywood, so there's a lot of stress, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that he told the group that he has started doing on his own is at the top of every hour, he meditates.
Yes, exactly.
And so
Same thing.
when I told him that you were coming to the class this weekend, I said, well, now, because he said he has to stop and he just does it for like 5 minutes. And I was explaining that with mindfulness meditations, you don't have to like stop and set a time to do it. You can actually meditate while you're doing the dishes.
Exactly.
You can meditate while you're cleaning the house or anything that you're doing. And Thich Nhat Hanh said, anything you do with mindfulness becomes a miracle. And I thought that was an incredible quote.
And
by
it
him.
affects everybody in the house and around
Exactly.
you. Because when they said, well, one person, we call him Thich Nhat Hanh, when one person meditates in the home, everybody experiences
Calms
that
down.
calmness.
Yes.
But I really actually got into it when I was in the entertainment industry.
Because you needed it, right?
Yes, I needed it. I was with
you worked as a publicist.
yeah, for CBS and ABC, and then went into management as well.
Oh,
but
wow.
the thing is with meditation, it's mainly stopping and breathing
In the
and
moment.
conscious. But the great thing with mindfulness, when you're under that pressure, when you're under that chaos, right away you can go into that chaos instead of going away from it. And that's the
Exactly.
two differences between meditation
Thank
and
you.
mindfulness.
Yeah.
Is the meditation, people think I got to stop, I got to be really quiet. But mindfulness, you use everything. You use the noise around you. Whatever comes up into your awareness, you're right there with it. And so you
Instead of
use the
resisting it.
Yes, like if there's traffic, if there's a dog barking, my husband snores.
Just breathe.
So I use that snoring to breathe.
Because he's not going to stop
No,
snoring.
he's not going to stop. So we went through this whole thing about snoring. And then I finally said, wait a minute, let me just listen to the breath and listen to his breathing.
Yeah. And
all
why
of a
is
sudden-
it irritating me so much?
And guess what? It not stopped, but it was a low roar compared to like a bear in the whole room. But that's what's so great. And I also learned it when I was with we adopted two children, two wonderful children. We already had our son who was 3 years old at that time, but we adopted one of our sons who had reactive attachment disorder.
And what is that?
This is interesting. When you talk about the ego, this is the part of the ego which he was demonstrating called reactive attachment disorder, which could be like the
where
shadow.
they're attached to you, but they react like when you're not giving them attention?
Exactly. What happens to a lot of kids who are in the system or who are abused and neglected, or at the time we adopted him, was like 50,000 children who were wards of the court.
Well,
And
how
they
old
were
was he
abused.
when you got him?
He was 3.
Oh, wow.
He was 3.
Yeah, he was already
And so
set
this is a perfect example how the ego works. He had what they call reactive attachment disorder, where he shuts down because his needs weren't met as a child.
Okay.
And when you're a baby, when
So
you're
the
a
heart
child,
closes.
Yeah, the heart closes,
afraid.
and you're a child. Your mom answers you hundreds of times a day to
Yeah.
feed you. And with these kids who were isolated like that, emotionally cut off from their parents, maybe their parent is sick or in the hospital. That happens as well. And what
Or they were
do-
shut down
They shut down.
themselves.
So they shut down and built this shadow part of
A wall.
themselves.
It's a
wall.
defense mechanism.
A defense mechanism, because if you're not going to love me, I'm going to love myself.
Wow.
So we have gang members who are like that
Oh,
too.
of course.
We talk about the pirates. We talk about
So
ISIS.
then
the
they have
people-
no conscience. They just do things.
They do
They're
things.
very self-centered.
Self-centered,
and it's me.
because they cut off their feelings. So how,
Okay.
if I cut off my feelings,
You have no
how
compassion,
can I,
no empathy.
Exactly. How can I empathize with you? You know.
So at 3 years old,
at 3
he's
years
cut off,
old,
shut down.
that's beginning. That was
Wow.
the beginning.
So
Yeah.
so then you got into mindfulness meditations to help you deal with your special needs child and the special needs children that you were managing and working with in show business.
Right.
So I think the show is really, really important to show people that when you're in the midst of the storm, you can calm yourself down. Because Lord knows, teaching this class with a bunch of egos, I don't have time to say, give me a break. Let me go meditate for 5 minutes while you're in your ego creating, craziness. I have to breathe and say, please, send me some help. And we're going to jump right into how you can use mindfulness to deal with those people in your lives who are shut down because they have literally given themselves over to their ego. They're being driven by their ego. They're blinded by their ego. And they're unreachable and they're unteachable. So you can forget about trying to teach them anything. The only thing you can do is lead by example and not allow them to just suck your light, drain you, get you discouraged, because that is really their goal, is to be the center of attention and to, because they're miserable, make everybody around them miserable. Mm-hmm. But as you were saying that when just one person in the house is practicing mindfulness or meditation, it is going to help everybody else. So how do we do this in the middle of a storm when, let's deal with the first 7 deadly sin, pride, and prideful people they cannot be taught anything because they think that they know everything. So this includes arrogance, being a know-it-all, and what I call recalcitrant, which means that they're unteachable in the sense that they have contempt for authority figures. They have contempt for the truth. Anytime you tell them anything, they go, I know. So, okay. And they have this incredible need to be right. They want to prove the truth a lie. And they want to prove the lie a truth. And so they will refuse help when you offer them help. Or there are subtle little forms of pride, which is perfectionism. Everything, I can't do anything unless I'm perfect. Or when you offer them help, when they need help, they're these people that are the long suffering, nobody does anything for me. That's another form of pride. And you offer them help and they refuse help. So you see how subtle it is? Yes, pride has so many shades to it. I could go on and on. So how would we use mindfulness to help someone they're just trying to get their work done. They're trying to improve. They're trying to grow spiritually. And remember, the ego does not want to grow. Yes. It wants to stay where it is. It wants to create chaos and craziness and suck up everybody's energy and light. And be the center of attention. How do we use mindfulness when we're dealing with people like this in our lives, at work, at home, everywhere?
Yeah, well, when we teach in corporations and jobs, you're around those types of people all the time because they're defending their turf. Welcome
right? to Earth.
So the thing is, when you're in conversations with them, say at work, one of the things to do is to stop your mind to linking on to what they're saying and go into your body. As someone is talking and you're talking, how does this feel like in my body, my emotions? Okay. Where is it? And what happens is that when you focus on what's going on in your body, as this person is sprouting off all this crap that makes you upset, what happens is that you start to relax. And you're not trying to change. Exactly. You're not trying to change them.
Because you
can't change them. So what you're doing is getting that inner peace, tapping into that inner peace,
and maybe finding compassion for them.
Well, you automatically find compassion when you're compassionate with yourself, because we want people to be compassionate with us, but we're not self-compassionate. In fact, I did a blog on that. It's on my website, JanetAJackson.com. Got that in there. All right. But
that's
actually,
right. Okay.
But actually, what happens is that when we are attentive to our own feelings and we feel, is it a knot that we feel when we're talking to those people? Is it moving? And what happens is that we relax and you see the reflection in that other person, but you're not doing it to make them relax. What you're doing is to detach from that energy that they're sprouting out at you.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now let's move into the second one, envy, because that's a really crazy one. Yeah. Okay. And that's really subtle too, because people will say, I'm not envious. But when you're comparing yourself to others and then you're coming up short, that is a variation on the shade of envy. Right. When you're wishing that you had what someone else has, as in coveting someone else's made or their possessions, or something as subtle as not appreciating what you do have.
Yes,
we could go on and on with envy.
Right.
And so as women, we know how envious other women can be over just the craziest things. So how do you deal with that? How do we
mindfulness is tuning into your thoughts. Okay. What am I thinking about this person? And when you begin to see the thought process, I'm thinking, I want this position she has, I want this man she has, or whatever. Then you go into, again, your feelings. Because first comes the thought.
So we're dealing with wrath now, which entails tolerating passive-aggressive behavior of others by refusal to call them out on their bad behavior. Now people will go, but wait a minute, that's not wrath. You're putting up with other people spewing their wrath and their anger and their poison on you. And you know about auras and how that really messes up your aura. Right. And so you have people, and as well as I do, within the whole metaphysical movement, where they will not set boundaries. They'll let people walk all over them. And then it makes them sick. On the inside, they get sick. But it can also include indulging in depression, anxiety, or resentment against yourself or others because you put up with so much stuff off of other people. And then other people will have these anger flare-ups where they'll fly off the handle over irrelevant things because they didn't deal with the real issue in the moment, at taking things personal, being defensive about helpful criticism, being impatient, or getting frustrated with yourself or others too quickly. So, see, there's a whole lot of shade, on wrath. So how can we use mindfulness?
And actually, that wrath helps us to grow.
It does.
It does.
If you can tame it.
Because why do we
transcend it?
Attract it, for our growth. And when you do transcend it, you can feel, again, it's the emotions that it's like we have cellular memory in our body.
We do.
So when we are paying attention to when someone's spewing stuff out at us and we are going into, not trying to run away from it or run away from them because we're never going to settle this.
Yeah.
But when we go inside as they're talking this stuff at us and we're feeling what feels like, what happens again is that we begin to relax, and we think that we should shut them down and go back and forth.
Yeah.
But that energy,
that never
which you
ends.
persists,
and it never ends.
It never ends
because they want to pull you into their craziness
into their
into their arguments,
Yes.
and because all they want is to be right.
Right, and we went through that a lot with our son when he was a special needs. And by the way, I want to say he is so fabulous now. He went into the Marines, and he's self
and that was perfect for him, right? The
Marines. It was great, But he's such a wonderful person. But as an adult,
so thank God for mindfulness, right?
And for me, because it helped me to deal, and he showed me how to deal with it, with love.
So he was your best teacher.
Yes, he was the best teacher. And when people are yelling and screaming at you, they're teaching you how to have self-love, because most people want to shut down and feel like, oh, I'm like this person says I am, but no, it's not. So what you're doing is going into yourself and loving yourself and loving your thoughts and understanding that I am compassionate with me. You don't have.
Let's
I'm
talk
not
about
dependent
that,
on
though.
it.
Let's talk about, when people are accusing you, they're projecting their stuff at you. Most people will just absorb it and go, well, maybe I really am a horrible, terrible person, even though they're not.
Abuse. We talk about domestic violence.
So how do you help people not accept a lie that's being projected at them and not feel bad about themselves?
Well, what you're doing is examining your thoughts and asking later,
Is it
away
true?
from that person, is it true? Is it really,
Am I
really true?
that person they're
because
saying I am?
that is sometimes reflected in our childhood,
Of
where we
course.
grew up with that, and our parents said, this is about you, or you're not this and you're not that. So
Or
we
kids
create
said
that
it.
shadow self of ourselves, and we attract another person who says the same thing about us in
Got
anger
it.
and frustration.
Okay.
So when you're with mindfulness, all the things you said when people are spewing wrath and what it makes you feel, actually mindfulness does the reverse, because you are clearing up, you're healing yourself. It's like a laser sifting through all those thoughts that are not true about yourself, and you'll be able to see with clarity, you focus and concentration. But again, you must do it regularly. You can't do it sporadically.
And in the moment when the stuff is happening, because it doesn't help, if you don't breathe into it.
Right.
If you allow yourself to get pulled into it.
Yeah, and noticing your whole body as someone is saying things to you that it's not true, or
because it hits you in your solar plexus.
Well, and some people have it in their headaches and their shoulders and in their jaws. We carry a lot of tension in our jaws too. So especially when you're away from that person and you can feel it, you can go back and feel that person is spewing this stuff at you. When they're not there.
Oh, sure.
And then
they
go
leave
back.
a residue.
Right. But then you can go back and practice mindfulness too.
To clear the residue.
To clear it up. And
Got
pretend
it.
that this person is doing this to me now.
Yeah.
And then how do I approach my boss when he says this? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you go back into the feeling. What did I feel? What are the thoughts? And then writing down sometimes your thought process. And you see that those thoughts were not the truth.
Exactly. And so let's talk about that, because when we're talking about mindfulness, I think, this is the way that I see the creator of all that there is, the infinite source. I do not separate truth from love, because
it is love.
Because truth is love. And what I find with people who are in their ego, the truth is not in them. It's not possible. They are attached to the lie. And so for us, if we're dedicated to truth, we do have to stop and examine everything that's being said to us and go within through mindfulness and ask, is this true? That's so simple.
Is it true?
Is this true? And writing it down, like with your journal, how can I stay focused and dedicated to truth, because truth is love. And if my journey is to get back to oneness with the infinite source of all that there is, you really don't have time to be wasting it on other people's lies and other people's projections, because that's their stuff. That's their illusion. That's their reality.
Yeah.
And so are you saying that when you go into mindfulness, you're now creating a sanctuary that is the truth?
It is the truth.
beingness.
And you see the beingness. And the thing is to do it when you're in the shower, listening to the shower, you're cooking, of just listening to the sounds of the pots and pans, you're washing dishes, your laundry. You can do it anywhere. As you're driving on the freeway and whatever, you're listening to the traffic.
Paying attention to everything. You'd have less accidents, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
if you were
exactly.
mindful.
And we did a training for law enforcement, and it was SWAT team. It was the leader of the SWAT, and he says, wow, after he was doing mindfulness, he says, my people can be more alert. And
Exactly.
yes, because people think, oh, this is a soft thing, but now it's not.
No.
It's
because all of your senses are aware and tapped
exactly,
in. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, with law enforcement too, they find that doing mindfulness and the breathing into the heart, especially when they're going into domestic violence situations, which is the most unpredictable almost.
Yeah, and that fear is contagious.
It brings their blood pressure down. They have done studies on it, and they're more clear focused. They are more calm, so then they're able to calm the people down. Exactly.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So let's recap. When we're talking about mindfulness, the ego cannot be in the moment, because it's a shadow, it's an illusion, it's not real, and that's the one place it cannot be, and it cannot tolerate.
It can't hide in mindfulness.
But it can't be you in that moment, because when you're in that moment, aren't you your authentic self?
Yeah, and you're connected to the whole.
And you're connected to Source.
Yes.
Well, Source, we created the ego.
Right.
Source didn't create it.
Exactly.
So when you're in the moment, the ego has no power over you.
Right.
You can look at people's egos. You can look at your own. You can observe it and go, I don't have to participate in that.
And you know what? Doing this work with mindfulness, you begin to laugh at yourself.
Exactly.
You have humor.
And
you think,
humor.
Did I think of that? Because a lot of times we don't know what we're thinking.
Exactly.
But when we sit down and we just start thinking, oh, I thought this, and it's hysterical.
Yes.
And we don't have to change anything.
Exactly.
See, that's the great thing.
Just laugh at the ego,
right,
and it will go away.
Well, that's what the thing was said before. When I went through ego training, they brought up all this stuff. Well, what are you thinking? But then what do I do with this stuff?
Exactly.
And mindfulness shows you how, like a laser, all you got to do is look at your thoughts and your feelings
and examine
it's so
what's
easy.
real and
it's
what's
so
true.
Easy.
Yes.
But the only difficult part is not, I shouldn't say difficult, is maintaining it, doing it as often as possible.
It
but
has
becomes
to
a part
you.
of your life. It becomes a part of your life when you are commit and say, okay, I'm going to use this. And you can use it for everything.
Yeah. So when I look back, Janet, my second divorce was my greatest teacher, because I fell into wrath. I was just like, oh, if I could just run him down. Please don't let him cross my path. Because if I'm in a car and he's crossing the street, okay. An accident is just going to accidentally happen.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I was like, oh my God, is that me?
But see, you saw it.
That
was mindfulness. That was mindfulness right there.
And then I had to start literally throughout the day, every day. And I've been doing this now since 2005, literally examining every thought that comes up. And you think at first it's exhausting, but the 99% of those thoughts are crazy.
Well,
they're not even yours.
We have exactly, we don't. We have somebody behind us because we're picking up energy of people. But we have 60,000 thoughts at least a day. So you can't examine all of them. But the ones,
probably more.
But exactly. But the ones that are most gnawing at us, those are the ones
recurring ones. That's what I'm talking about, because they keep coming up. And then the crazy ones, I'm just like, that's really crazy. That's not really me.
Yes.
And I'm not not going to feed that. And some of them, like the recurring ones you're talking about, I would literally have to pray them away. You know, the whole Ponopono, I would just go, okay, I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. You know, thank you for that coming up. And I really love you. And sometimes you've got to fake it till you make it.
Right. And again, it's the thought that's connected with the emotion.
Exactly.
If the thoughts are not going away, then it's connected with the emotion of our body. So you can go into the body and just relax
And
into
see
that
how you
feeling
feel.
and
Yeah.
just open up to that feeling.
Yes.
And that's for a lot of people that get scared about, but that turns out to be the most relaxing thing
Because
in
all
your
you're
life.
doing is witnessing it.
Witnessing.
Yeah, you're observing it
and
and-
knowing it's not the truth. That's not who I am. I'm not the thoughts. I'm not the emotions.
And
I'm
that's not who I wanna
connected
be.
to the whole.
That's
Yes.
not what. So let's go to the fourth one, gluttony. Okay. Now people go, I'm not a glutton. I don't overeat. You know, especially skinny people. Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not a glutton. And I've seen skinny people. Their metabolism is so fast. Oh my God, they can eat like a lumberjack. You know, and all they think about is food. So it's so tricky. But the thing about gluttony is any out of balance behaviors.
Yes.
You know, and it includes all forms of addictions. You know,
Right.
and it's not just overeating or drinking or smoking, but we have gluttons for punishment.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
You know,
Yes.
we have people that can only learn from the school of hard knocks,
Right.
which is stupid.
Yes.
Okay, versus learning from other people's experiences or from your own experiences. And you can be a glutton over doing anything, including too much sleeping, you know, too much TV, too much texting, too much YouTube, too
Yeah.
much video games, too much sex. Okay, it goes on and on. So gluttony is really tricky because if you tell people, they go, oh, no, I don't have that problem, not me. So when people are dealing with their addictions, you know, whether it's, you know, I'm, you know, texting too much, how do we, because see, this is about getting back to balance. How can we use mindfulness to get back in the middle?
One of the things is before we engage in that behavior is not trying to stop the behavior, but just stopping before you enter into the behavior, whether
Looking
it's too
at
much
it
drinking
and
or
asking a
whatever.
question.
And then how does this feel in my body before I get, but if you try to stop it right away,
Oh, yeah.
it becomes too strong, as
Yeah.
you know, as a specialist.
And you feel like
But-
you're denying yourself of something.
Yeah, but when you begin to say, okay, what am I feeling or what am I thinking before I get this? And then if you want to
What
go
was the
ahead and
trigger?
do it,
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, what was the
Exactly.
trigger?
What was the trigger?
Yeah.
What was I thinking? And that's mindfulness right there.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you begin to, little bit by little bit by little bit, you're able to release the energy that we hold on
That's
to.
beautiful because I remember like when I was giving up meat, like I never had a problem with red meat, didn't like chicken. And then I remembered something. The only meat I liked was hot dogs. And they're the worst meat in the world for anyone to eat. So here I was.
Now watch you, Oprah Winfrey went through this on her show with beef.
No.
We love hot dogs.
No, but look, I just don't like, you know, I loved hot dogs. Okay. But, oh, yeah. Well, and anyway, this is my opinion. Okay. All right. So I can like what I like or not like.
Okay.
But anyway, so that was my weakness was hot dogs, right? And so I'm trying to figure out, you know, my mother had died and I went back to Texas and we were in the mall and there was a Sonic hot dog, you know, stand. And I had to have me one of those foot long, like with chili cheese, everything, you know, on it and the onions and the mustard. And I bit into it. It was the worst tasting thing I had ever had in my life. And then I was thinking, oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. For me, okay, my niece was loving the Sonic. She was like, this is the most amazing hot dog in the world. And then I remembered, well, that's how I remember the Sonic hot dog. I loved it. And it was associated with my mother. We went to Sonic together.
Sonic
There were
together.
all of those beautiful memories
Yes.
tied into Sonic.
And you know that brings up a really good point where how mindfulness helps with grief.
Yes.
Because I know when my mother passed away, instead of running from the problem,
Food is associated with
yeah, but
Memories.
what those waves of grief come to you, and so being able to open up and allow that grief to go through it, to feel where it feels in your body,
Right.
helps you to get through the grief.
Yes.
Instead of holding and pushing it away and we get
Exactly.
busy and whatever. But I know that was the hardest part because it comes all of a sudden. You're walking and all of a sudden this grief comes over
Yes.
you. So if you can just stop and just feel.
Yes.
and let it come.
But also examining where is this, like it was a compulsive, I just had to have that hot dog, right? And it was just like crazy for me. And of course, if you haven't eaten meat in a long time, it will make you sick. So my body just got sick. And my goddaughter was like, here, give me that hot dog. She ate hers and mine. Yours. And she was like, ain't nothing wrong with this hot dog. This is the best hot dog in the world.
But isn't that something how we do project our feelings onto different things like that?
But sloth is laziness. It's being a quitter, not finishing what you start, procrastinating. It can be clutter, disorder, disarray in appearance or in your surroundings. And we have a lot of slothful behavior. So how would you deal with someone who is literally not doing their best and, they're cluttering everything, making a mess of everything?
Well, again, we attract what we need to learn in our lives.
True.
And so a person that you're living with is like that and you're feeling that type of energy, instead of pushing it away, you could try to have a talk with them, but you can't. But you have to go. You have to. You have to deal with it internally. What is it about this that makes me so upset? There could be something like we talked about the shadow of our ego that's like that. That our parents told us don't be like that, and we're projecting onto that other person, and they pretend they start doing things that irritate us when we need to sit down and think about why is this so disheartening for me?